I really enjoy collaboration. I don't think every artist likes to work with other people, but I find there's a real energy in taking an idea and running with it and seeing other people take off and get excited about it. So when opportunities come along to enlarge the vision of what I'm doing into other media, I really like that. The challenge with turning a painting into a three-dimensional piece is, first of all, what's going on the other side. And I don't always think in the round. I think about what's on the surface because I'm a painter. So the first part is having to design what goes in all the way around. And then, there are things you can do in paint. You can float things, you can fly things, and there are no constraints on a painted surface. But when you decide to go to a bronze and you decide to translate a painting into a three-dimensional object, then you have to deal with gravity, and you have to deal with position, and you have to deal with how do we get the spirit of this across and still make it work as a 3D thing. On most of these bronzes that we've been doing lately, I've been working with Blair Connors, who is a very talented sculptor and also an individual who gets it in terms of my work. I find it very easy to talk to Blair, to push the design around, to suggest things that he can say, oh, I know what you want, and he comes back and surprises me, and it's almost always better than I imagined it. At the same time, I appreciate his being willing to put his creative input into the piece so that it gets better than either of us could do on our own. We started in the early 90s and did a piece called The Fishwalker, which kind of proved that we could do this, that we could make a bronze that looked like one of my works. We followed that up with a character called the Candleman, in which we put real candles in his hat. And after a few experiments and nearly burning down a building, we figured out how to engineer that properly. Then we got a little more ambitious and did a project with two characters, bird hunters, who are funny little guys that have long poles with hammers on the ends that they can bonk birds in the trees. We followed that up with one of my favorite pieces, which is called A Lawyer More Than Adequately Attired in Fine Print, which was a little play on words. I had just completed a project that required a big contract and a lot of legalese, and that got me thinking about lawyers. And so we created a painting with a whole lot of little lawyer jokes in it. And that translated actually quite successfully into a bronze. We included his clerk, a little fellow on a stool who, with a magnifying glass, is examining the fine print, which is texturally on his vest and his coat. He also has loopholes on his waist because that's, what lawyers look for. He has more than enough rope to hang himself. And he's holding up a grain of truth, which is all a lawyer needs, to make a case. The challenge with doing Sleeper Lost in Dreams was that the information that was in the painting was a very small part of the figure. It was a headshot and a corner of the wing, and when we decided to make a sculpture out of it, we decided to make it a full figure. And so it really almost had to be designed from scratch. I also wanted to have it be magical. I think if we're going to make it a bronze and make it a full figure, we didn't just have a person standing there. So we came to the conclusion that that this angelic sleeper lost in her dream should be floating and moving. And so when we decided to make her float, the sculptor was very instrumental in coming up with the engineering that could carry the weight of the angel through this drape that seems to drag on the ground, but in actuality is the support, which allows her feet then to float a ways off the ground, and giving, I love that idea of taking a bronze that's essentially a heavy solid object and giving it the feeling that it's weightless. The gesture was important to make her feel like she's moving in her dreams, kind of moving through space. Another little part of the transition was that we had this wing, which is real easy for me to paint, coming out of her back, but then when you turn her into a full three-dimensional figure, how does that wing connect? And so there's a lot of little detail work that I rely on the sculptor to resolve. In Benediction, which is one of my favorite things that we've done so far, and it's an angel floating in the air and giving a sort of gesture of blessing to a little fish. And we took a circle motif that was in the painting and essentially hung the bronze inside that frame. And Blair Connors, that I was working with, did a marvelous job of turning this into a three-dimensional piece that floats, that has the feeling that there's that airiness and things that the painting had. We have a new piece called False Magic, which is playing with the magic fish theme, except this fish is a theatrical construct of cloth and sticks and wires and stones, with a fellow writing on it, but really in the sculpture you can see the wires. And so it's not real magic, it's false magic. It's a beautiful little sculpture, and again, it was the translation of a two-dimensional painting into a three-dimensional object. And so the stands and the wires and the mechanics that make him work create a really nice shape and illusion and space. So I'm very excited about that new piece as well.